What do you do when your goal to find a few commendations puts you on the path of an enemy you can't defeat? You train, you seek revenge, and when a third enemy shows up to the fight, you tell the story. The day started with a plan: complete all of the Season 17 commendations, or at least work towards them. Get the ship prepared and head to the nearby islands to find caches, messages in a bottle, or shipwrecks containing smuggled goods. Island 1 yielded no loot. However, there was a Reaper rowboat, which requires us to have 10 docked to our ship. Duz decided to get it docked, and I watched in horror as he moved back, around, and finally into the ship before he finally managed to dock. Island 2 yielded our first smuggler cache and one of the Chronicles, which is another step to completion. And with the goods back on the ship, we headed to the next island. Another rowboat. Thankfully, he did it a bit quicker this time. Then we spotted something at the next island. A ship. We should really be looking for smuggler caches, but we couldn't resist. Little did we know this would send us down a very, very different path. The plan was simple. I was to distract the ship, and Duz was to row over and explode the barrel in front of them, hopefully sinking them before the fight had even started. Success! A massive explosion. Not enough to sink them though, unfortunately. However, this started a brilliant fight. Duz scored a good hit on the mast, which gave us the upper hand, and then headed over to board. I took over the cannon and scored another hit on the mast, which allowed Duz to get on and took full control. Once we'd taken full control, I got myself closer in and decided to board after Duz had done all his hard work, and we were close to victory. Or so it seemed. When I got back up top, I noticed there was not one ship, but two ships. The ship was a Reaper. We were confident and we thought, we can do this. They boarded the ship, and to be fair, we quickly realised that actually our PvP skills are dreadful, and they were just jumping all over us like a kangaroo. I was trying my absolute best here to try and keep up with them, but we were really struggling at this point. I managed to get them below decks at one point and get a kill on them, which was really satisfying, but it was really a bit futile, to be honest, because before we knew it, they were back and we were down once again. And ultimately, that was the sinking of our ship. And it was at this point we kind of really knew that we needed to be a lot better. Okay, so our PvP wasn't very good, so we decided to go and do some hourglass combat. It started off really well, actually. We started off quite an easy fight, I think, in kind of the way match make this. We managed to get a few hits on. We got on the ship. I did a pretty good combat here. Well, it wasn't great, but I did good enough. And the ship was pretty much sunk straight away. We hit quite a lot of good hits. We got the mast down. Sorry, not mast down. We got the capstan down, and that was over. Pretty easy, and that was our first victory. Second victory, we come up against another ship, which probably wasn't the best ship again. I think again it's matchmaking because we haven't really done this much. We got a few shots off to start with, nothing major. We got in real close, and we actually tried our best to try and get in close, get a few hits, and try and get that mast down, but we just weren't managing to do it. And the fight went on quite a long while. I had to deal with Duz's terrible shots to start with. As you can see, it hit everything but the ship. And then we had to try and get ourselves as close as possible. But we were getting hit as well. It's not like we were not getting hit. And we got a good firebomb off there. Eventually, we got in close enough to actually get onto the ship, and I caught the ladder nicely there, as you can see. And I was on the ship, got the capstan down. That's the first thing you should always do. Got a hit on him. Looks like he didn't heal himself, so didn't need to worry about him. And that was it. I noticed there was no cannonballs though, so they only had them in the storage crate. So what I did is I just chucked it off the edge. That way they couldn't come back. Although they did have a respawn, I forgot to eat, and yeah, then I got killed. But that was pretty much it. The fight was over. They hadn't fixed their ship, and that was our second victory. Before we went out to do our third match, we decided to go and get some more resources. It's the best thing to do. And then while we were there, we just thought, why not go for the Reaper flag? Because that's what we're doing, we're reaping. And then we're into Battle 3. Now, Battle 3 was a little harder. But again, I think we did a good job here. I think we're quite good with the kind of ship PvP, but not so good with the hand-to-hand stuff. But you can see here, we got their mast down. Duds went over. I got a few shots off, nothing major, but we had to get in a little bit closer. You can see there the waves were being a bit awful. And then we got right in close here. We could start to get some real good shots on them and actually start to really cause some damage here. Duds' shots are still needing some work, but we eventually got in close enough to be able to get a few more good shots off. So there we go. And they got a firebomb on us, but nothing major again. Then yeah, so this next bit here is where we kind of like had a bit of a weird-ish thing here where we actually got boarded, but it looks like they kind of given up. I'm not really sure what's happening here, so we're going to get a few more shots off here. You can see here they're kind of they are attacking us, but for some reason they kind of seem to just not be bothered anymore. I don't know. Here comes the board now. So we're still firing. Like, I mean, see the mast goes down. We didn't touch the mast at all, which was a bit strange. Here comes the board. He comes on board and we finish him off pretty quickly. And then we get up close to the ship and the ship's sinking. I think what they've done is they've given up, which is a bit of an odd one. So not sure about what happened there, but that was our third victory, and you will probably see it pop up any second now. Duz is going over to check. You can see the water's quite high there actually, so maybe they did sink. Not sure. But that was our third victory, and we thought, well, we'll just get some more resources and kind of get ready for the fourth one. Then we spotted a ship at Reapers. So Duds went over to have an investigation first, so while I was like sailing over, and it looks like it was the same people we were fighting with earlier. So we thought, well, we'll get some revenge. So Duds set them alight, went over to try and deal as much damage as he could. I got in close and started to shoot with the cannonballs. And yes, it's a stationary target, but we were just in that mood where we just wanted to just finish them off because they caused us some issues earlier on. So you'll see quite a few little cannon shots here where I'm getting closer and closer and I'm just causing as much damage as possible. To be honest, I'm okay with this. They're flying the Reaper flag, and if they're flying the Reaper flag, they're fair game. That's what I always like to say. If they're stopped and they're like Order of Souls or Gold Hoarders, I'm not going to do this to them because it's not fair. But you see here, we just get a few shots off. I go over to have a look just to make sure that everything is good, and it looks like they'd already sunk. So everything was pretty cool, and I was happy with that. You can see here, this guy was just proud about at the end. I think he'd sold all the stuff he had, but we managed to finish him off. But the one thing we didn't notice is that where was the other guy? The thing is, when the loot came in the water, we see that there was a mermaid, and we were like, hang on a second. And you can see just in the distance there, a rowboat coming in. And we were like, oh no, because it's the cannonball rowboat. Sorry, not a cannonball rowboat, a gunpowder rowboat. And he set it alight, but for some reason, I don't know what happened, whether he accidentally switched it off again or what, it didn't explode. And that gave us a chance to actually recover, which was nice because we were struggling there. We could see him for like trying to get back to his ship, his like rowboat. So we thought we'd go and try and deal with him, but for some reason I was lagging and I failed here. I missed him completely and then got killed by a shark. But Duds managed to completely like beat him in the end. However, our fourth fight was something truly different. Okay, so Battle 4 started off pretty much the same way as all the others. We started off trying to get our best. However, we got boarded pretty much straight away, and it was just something so unexpected that we just didn't know how to deal with it. So we kind of got involved in this continuous process with these guys of being boarded and trying to repel them and kind of dealing with them. Unfortunately, I'll kind of say close combat is really not that great. So we were really struggling here, and I was trying my absolute best. I'm not the best at this, and I'm just trying my best to kind of keep up with them. Unfortunately, it just really wasn't working, and we were getting attacked. And it didn't look good. It didn't look good at this point. Like I said, we're kind of running around the ship trying to protect. And I think Duds eventually does get the kill here, which is great, which allows me the chance to kind of get that mast up. We just need to just get out of there and get away. And we managed to do it, which was great, and we managed to kind of recover just enough to be able to get ourselves moving again, which kept us in the fight. And this fight is going to continue for a long time, and this is going to happen a few times for us. We're going to get caught in that kind of wave of having to have our mast down and kind of recover. And the weather wasn't helping either, so I chose the strategy of just getting out of the storm and letting them come to us, because we couldn't fight them like this. It was just not appropriate. So I did my best. Obviously, they're getting shots away because they're much better than us. So we just decided to get out of the storm and just fight them out of the storm and into the open ocean. Again, we're just getting tagged a lot. We're just really fighting for our lives. I'm hoping that does get some good shots away here, and he does. So that was really good. But again, our mast went, and again, we went into that same process of just trying to recover and trying to keep ourselves going. We got boarded often in this, and you can see here, my decision to go with the Eye of Reach is probably not the best idea when you go into PvP, because you can see here, we need 2 shots to knock them off the ladders, and that's kind of resulted in me losing there. And the same happens here again. I hit them, yes, but again, they get on the board. Luckily this time we managed to defend, and this kind of gave us that upper hand that we needed to try and beat them. And I can kind of back myself with my steering ability, and I does most of the time with his cannons. But as long as I kept in that back quarter, I knew that we could win here, and we just needed to just drill down this like upper hand of like not having the 2 people on their ship. So we tried our best here. We just kind of keep continuously fighting, and actually we're really winning here, and we're getting a lot of good hits, and they were struggling, and I could tell they were struggling because they weren't firing back and they weren't trying to board us, so they were too busy trying to protect. But eventually they managed to get a lucky shot off with one of the cannonballs, and it hits our mast, and that kind of puts them back into pole position again, unfortunately. And that's just the way we kept going with this battle. Like I say, they hit our mast again, and it was just a constant flow like that. And then it went back to us trying to just kind of keep ourselves alive, get a few good shots off. Dud's trying to distract them as much as he could, and it just really wasn't working, unfortunately. They were just way too good. And you'll see here, like even there they're getting good shots off. Again, they're boarding. And it was the boarding that was the problem. It was because I wasn't using the blunderbuss. I think that was where our biggest issue was. I'm trying to obviously keep the capstan going so we don't lose momentum. But he kills Duds and knocks me off the ship. Sorry. And then when I get back, we were just in a bad position, and we're just going to have to try our best. Like you see again, I get killed straight away. So in the end, we just decide that the best thing of a solution is just to try and cause damage by crashing into them, because we had no cannonballs left either, and it was just not going well. Unfortunately, though, what also happened is it will see you on the screen in 2 seconds time. There's our ship that we're fighting, and on the right hand side of us, there's another ship, and we're like, great, this is what we need right now. And unfortunately, this was the end of us. We just could not deal with 2 crews at once. They aimed for us directly, and it just didn't go well. As you can see here, we're just fighting for our lives, and at this point it's pretty much over. But it is what it is, and this is just the way Sea of Thieves works, and that's why I really love this game, because some days you win, some days you lose. And fighting 3 crews like here, they're fighting themselves, just isn't great. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed these videos, then don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. GG.